to you all. Any questions? Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Sainsbury, Oliver.
Thank you. I just have a question on the monitoring officer role. In the specification, it says qualified solicitor or barrister. Can I just check, does it have to be one of those, or are chartered legal executives allowed under the Act? And if so, just why that's not included?
Under the law, it doesn't have to be a fully qualified solicitor or barrister, and indeed in occasional circumstances in other local authorities, non-qualified people have undertaken those roles. However, it's now considered best practice for monitoring officers across the UK to come from a fully qualified legal background, either a solicitor or barrister, which is why we've included in there, hoping to be able to attract those individuals, because particularly I think probably over the last 5 or 10 years, the law has become more complex. The monitoring officer is required to advise on, and therefore having someone who is fully qualified is now considered to be generally better than having someone who may be part qualified.
Do you want to come back on that, Tom? No, I'll share it. I was going to say we'll offer it to you first, Oliver. Yeah, fine. Over to you, Rob.
Sorry, Mayor. I think what I wanted to add, I mean, one of the things we've got to reflect on is how we strengthen the governance of the combined authority. That's something that, you know, many of you have been involved in recent months. And I think making sure that we actually stipulate the need for the right qualified person for this role, I think is important. I also think that the legislation and legal support and advice that's needed around a combined authority is a little bit more complex than some of the local authority areas. So that's one of the reasons why we've been a bit, you know, clearer about what we're looking for in that specification.
Now, Oliver.
I completely appreciate where you're coming from, but I do just think it's important to stress that, you know, we are saying all equivalent experience at the top, and there are some people who may be part qualified, but you know, in real terms, just as if not more practical experience as some. So I'm just a bit. I completely see where you're coming from, but I'm just a bit uneasy is the wrong word, but I just feel like would we potentially be stopping applicants from some people who are just as qualified with the practical experience?
Yes, Nick, if you want to come back on that.
Thank you. I mean, depending on the view of the committee, of course, we could change that from an essential to a desirable, which is probably going to be in a similar position whereby effectively we will still get lots, and the vast majority of the people will have that legal experience. I think the issue for me is that the individual will also have to lead a team of lawyers, and leading a team of lawyers without necessarily having that knowledge could be, I think, difficult. I think my professional advice would be to retain it in there as essential, but if the committee wishes, then we could certainly look to potentially have that as a desirable rather than essential.
I appreciate it as an officer offer, but I maybe can come to my other fellow attendees here. If anybody wants to make a comment about that, and
okay, yeah, no, thank you very much. And just straight off, I feel very strongly we have to have a qualified legal practitioner, and that is because I have a legal background. I can really appreciate that the questions that come up will be difficult and will require proper, as in full, legal qualification and experience. And I completely take the point about leading a team of lawyers. There's no way that they're going to take advice from someone who knows less law than they do. So it's really, in my view, it has got to be qualified, a qualified person. My question is, I've got sort of 3 questions. One is, to what extent have we got additional responsibilities outside the statutory responsibilities in this role? The issue of being a good manager as well as a good lawyer. Quite often these things do not go together. You know, I wish it was different, but that is often the case. It's a rare person who does actually combine the two. And the third point is, have we spoken to or got advice from, say, recruiters about what's attractive about this role to the sort of person we want to recruit?
Who's going to take that? Nick?
Yeah, thank you. I guess addressing each of these in turn. The statutory monitoring officer role is literally just the person who is the effectively controls the constitution and makes sure that the authority always takes decisions that are lawful and in line with statute. So beyond that, there are quite a lot of additional responsibilities that this post holder has, particularly building on procurement, which is a key area and is now, of course, a growing area following the decisions that have been taken by the Combined Authority Board over the last few months. Outside of that, the actual legal service itself, because sometimes in some authorities that is separate from the monitoring officer. Not very many now, but it doesn't have to have responsibility for legal services. However, the suggestion of best practice is that it should have responsibility for legal services. And I say democratic services would naturally fall under the monitoring officer's remit anyway through there, but it's mostly the procurement and then potentially some of the legal services. But there may additionally be other requirements that as a senior manager, a senior officer within the combined authority, the individual is called on to either help with or to lead in terms of some of the corporate projects that either the chief executive or the corporate management team decide are appropriate through there. And leading on from that, I guess that brings me to your second question in terms of the good manager being as important as a good lawyer, and I absolutely agree. And I think that's, when I was talking about the interpersonal skills, I think those managerial skills and that experience is as important as the technical legal background or the technical legal experience to bring in. And actually making sure that through this process, we can hopefully find someone who has both of those, I think is incredibly important for us as an organisation. And we certainly have taken soundings from a number of different recruitment agencies in terms of how easy it would be to fill this role. And that's one of the reasons why I mentioned previously that we're now suggesting it at a slightly different reporting line, because one of the pieces of feedback we've received is that will make it more attractive to potential candidates. We do think that from the feedback we've had, it will be attractive for a number of reasons, the first of which, as a combined authority, it's a little different to some of those areas one would normally find in a normal council, normal local authority. And that will, we think, attract a number of people who are interested in coming in. We may not find people necessarily who've got the full knowledge of combined authorities. We'll find people who've got really good knowledge of local authority law and good managerial experience through there as well. And then also we think that from the recruitment agency's perspective, the fact that actually we've made significant progress in terms of the improvement programme and the best in terms of the best values will once again start to attract people to come in to think that actually this is an organisation that in some areas is actually now starting to, if I may put it that way, lead the pack in terms of its governance. So the single assurance framework that went through the board the other day is probably the first of them in the country that's hopefully going to get DLUC approval over the course of the next few months. So actually that will start to attract people as well through there. So those are probably the things that have come through. And because of that, I would be hopeful that we will get a good field of potential candidates.
Councillor Smith.
Smith.
Simon.
Simon, yeah. It's the male version, right? So I've worked in local government for 24 years, and I had cause to have dealings with council lawyers who've got a lot of experience in working with them. And this is a very senior post in a significant strategic organisation, and the salary that this post will command is signalling we want the very best to come into this organisation. The organisation's gone through quite a turbulent time, but also one of rapid change and reorientation, with a new set of senior people in the posts. So we mustn't dilute our standards for this. We deserve and we need and deserve a most senior person who's qualified and has all the expertise and all the personal qualities that you're looking for. Because individually and collectively, the senior members of staff in the organisation are about projecting the organisation's competence and capacities to deliver the services and projects that the government wants it to, and for the benefit of people of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So I think I accept your strong officer advice in this case, and I'm happy to, when it comes to the vote, approve this job description for this role. The underlying all of this have been some very progressive policy developments around governance. I'm a member of the Audit and Governance Committee, so I've watched this. I've been considering all of the reports that have been coming through and all of the developments with the performance frameworks and so on and so forth, insurance frameworks. And it is exemplary work that's being carried out during this the early improvement period. And so the organisation's got very sound foundations now on which to build. And so we need the people now to be able to take this forward. So it's very encouraging that we're at this stage now. And it's been an enormous achievement by all the people that have been concerned in this turnaround of the organisation. It's something that's, it wasn't great to be there in the first place, but in a way, we are now in a better place than we otherwise could have been because of it.
Well, do you want to come back, Oliver? Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to clarify something. I'm not for 1 minute proposing we take away the essential criteria, because I think it is essential. All I would say is, and I note what Councillor Murphy said, you know, I come from a legal background as well, and there are some people who are qualified as a chartered legal executive lawyer. Because we're using the term lawyer, a chartered legal executive lawyer is a lawyer, just like a solicitor is a lawyer. You know what I mean? There's two different things between a solicitor and a chartered legal executive, but if you're a chartered legal executive lawyer, you're a lawyer. And what I'm trying to say is that is still a qualification, a different route to qualifying, and not a solicitor, but it is still a lawyer. That's all I'm trying to get across.
Over to you, Nick.
Thank you. I'm not 100% knowledgeable in terms of the detailed issues around the qualifications, but I would hope that qualified solicitor, if we have someone who's qualified through experience and that is recognised by the Solicitors Regulation Authority and that would be encapsulated within this knowledge and experience. If that's helpful.
I think we've kind of come around the houses. In any other comment, I just, again, I suppose take chair's prerogative before we go to the vote, just to say I recognise a lot, obviously, what Simon has alluded to in terms of a process that was set in motion, a very essential process that was set in motion in terms of the appointment of very senior officers to help with the move for the combined authority moving forward. And it is a good place to be. I agree with some of what you've said, Nick, in terms of the opportunity for working in a combined authority. There's a lot to be said that the music coming out of central government is that devolution is a very important part. It doesn't matter across all political parties. And I would hope, and I think by shooting for the stars at the start in terms of the job description, I think we will obviously be seen to hopefully aspire for the very best candidates, because I would expect nothing less in terms of the quality of candidate that works within this organisation. I just want to make a final comment, and I'm very grateful that within the job descriptions, it brings a real sense of pride that when you talk about working for the combined authority, there is a very clear comment that we are committed to our values of leading with compassion, working cooperatively and serving our community. That golden thread in terms of a value, that golden thread is summarised by the 3 C's, I think is important, and I'm very pleased that it's acknowledged in terms of the way we would be looking to recruit officers of such high calibre. Compassion, cooperation and the building of community, essential to what we are here to deliver. So, the committee are requested to approve A, the new Executive Director job description person specifications contained at Appendix A of this report. B, approve the new Director Legal and Governance (Monitoring Officer) job description and person specification contained at Appendix B of this report. And C, approve the job descriptions, person specifications at Appendices 1 and 2 meets the requirement in Chapter 11, Rule 3.1 of the Combined Authorities Constitution. I would propose we now go to the vote. I could propose, can I? I'm going to lead by example. I've got a proposer and take a seconder. I will take that from Councillor Edna Murphy. Those for? Those against? And those abstaining? Okay, noted. Is that passed on majority?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we now move to agenda item number 6, which is Care Leavers report to be presented by Donia Taylor, who is our HR business partner and is ready and waiting to introduce the report. Hopefully, Donia, you can hear us and the link with us here in Fenland will work. Over to you.
Can you hear me okay?
We can. We have a slightly crackly line, so do please proceed. I'll let you know if there's a problem.
Okay. So this report we've brought to committee today based on the last HR committee when we recognised the employer's charter for the Care Leavers Covenant. Sorry, I'm getting quite a bad echo. Is that okay for you?
We do have a bit of a problem with the line in that you sound a bit distant and we're getting a lot of interference. Obviously, we do have the report in front of us, so we can refer to that and discuss it anyway. If you want to kind of present as best you can sorry, I'm going to give you the benefit of it. In no ways takes away from the importance of this report, and I'm delighted to see it. But if you could summarise it quickly, and then maybe I'll open up to the floor and I'll come back to you for questions.
Yep. Okay. So we've got the recommendations A, B, and C. We are agreeing that care experience will be treated as a protected characteristic in relation to HR policies and procedures today. And we also want to amend the EDI HR policy to reflect care experience being treated as a protected characteristic. And then the final recommendation is that we intend to take a report to board to recommend a broader proposal to treat care experience as if it were a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act across all CPCA work and services. There's a couple of things to highlight. So we're hoping to raise awareness internally of care leavers. We are also hoping that the broader piece of work will be able to work with our colleagues in constituent councils to see how we can raise awareness of our initiatives and work in partnership to maximise opportunities. And we are also hoping to have an executive sponsor so that the HR team can report to on this piece of work and also work with other representatives from across the combined authority.
Thank you, Donia. As I say, by no small means to underrepresent the importance of this document, and also before I go open to acknowledge that there is lots of already excellent examples within the combined authority where we're working with constituent authorities, highlighting the importance of work for those people who have experience of care. I think it's important, however, we take this further and embed, and I'm now going to open up the debate for any questions in regard to the report. And obviously, maybe Donia can answer any if there's a need. Floor. Edna, Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, I want to say that I really warmly welcome this proposal. It's very welcome. We know that there are a lot of long-term difficulties experienced by people who have been in the care system, and in many organisations that I have come across or am part of, we have looked at at this precise measure, and I think it's very timely and very welcome. I fully support it.
Thank you. Simon.
Well, I can only agree. This is a really positive, progressive initiative, and it's an example of the Combined Authority leading by example. This is for others to follow. We must be aware of how the difficulties that people who have care experience face in life. From an early age, they've probably been experienced rather traumatic circumstances. We know that very few of them progress into higher education. They have very, very circumscribed life chances and opportunities. And so for a leading employer, public sector employer, to be conscious and aware of this situation, opening its door to potential employment opportunities for people from this group is really a positive thing to do, and really support it. And I'd like to see how this can be developed further through the work that the Combined Authority does, because I think they are very much an overlooked and under-supported, very vulnerable group of people. And I can only support, I can just sort of lend my great support for this initiative. It's very welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I think I'm getting the sense in the room, but I will just, as I often do in my circumstances here, I do reflect on a journey that's brought me to be the Mayor of the Combined Authority, but one where at the same time I have managed to continue a link with my professional background, and obviously as a children's doctor on many occasions, I would acknowledge, where I've, run up alongside families, because obviously, those people who've gone through care, it's often not just the individual, it's the whole, how it affects the whole family. And I think it's very interesting to acknowledge that point of 1.2, that those who are leaving care, although usually resilient, they often have, despite all the challenges, still face barriers and often experience discrimination in many elements of their lives, including employment and support, is often inconsistent. You've already spoken to this. I'm not going to reiterate the point, but I think there is a space for organisations that do put compassion at the heart of everything we do, to lead by example. I'm really grateful for the ambition of those who in the last year at the Combined Authority have taken the role within human resources and looked at how we can be the exemplar, not just in the area that we serve, but also as an exemplar for the whole of the United Kingdom. And that gives me great pride to be part at the head of, and anything I can do to help further the ambition of this report, working with organisations locally or indeed nationally, and to highlight where we can do things better, I'm at the front of it. So thank you for your support. I'm going to now suggest that we go to the vote. The committee are requested to approve that A, care experience will be treated as if it were a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act 2010 in relation to HR policies and procedures. B, approve the amendment of the Combined Authority's Equality, Diversity and Inclusion HR policy to reflect care experience being treated as if it were a protected characteristic. And C, note that officers will take a report to the CPCA board in November to recommend a broader proposal to treat care experience as if it were a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act 2010 across all Combined Authority work and services, and that report will include an action plan of activities. For this, I need a proposer, and I will take Councillor Smith, and a seconder, Councillor Murphy. Those in favour? Those against? We have unanimous. So thank you all for your input. We move on to item 7, which is almost at the end of the meeting. The date of the next meeting planned for the 10th of November at 11 AM at Homebase, Huntingdon District Council, and that meeting will be to shortlist the candidates for the roles of Executive Director and Director of Legal and Governance. The interviews for those roles are scheduled to take place on the 16th of November at Huntingdonshire District Council. And with that positive end, looking towards the future, I'm going to conclude the meeting of the Human Resources Committee. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you, officers. Goodbye.